Singularity Covenant Jacek Rudnicki. Part 5. Is there any possibility of reflection in his thoughts? If so, let him suffer and wait for it. If not, what is the point of all this? She doesn't need it. It won't bring the children back to life. It won't take away the suffering of the parents. During the hearing to shorten the sentence, the lawyer argued that due to isolation for over 12 years and the lack of interaction over the last 6 years, he had suicidal thoughts and attempted to take his own life. While killing, he didn't think, he just killed. Concerning himself, he thought, but he didn't kill himself. For the first time, he showed remorse, claiming that he wouldn't commit such horrible acts today, but he didn't specify how he would like to rectify the situation. This thought came to him too late and without a solution. Besides, his eyes express something else. They are small and squinting, and they emit hatred. There is something wrong with him. Siddhasa decided to ask him this question. He was sentenced to 21 years in prison, with the possibility of an indefinite extension if he is still deemed a threat to society. He was a sane, narcissistic sociopath, but not in his own opinion. After all, he acts for the benefit of society. He achieved notoriety, albeit negative, which was the opposite of his intended goal. The parrots in his apartment, in their cage, do not know about it. They think of him as the man who feeds them. What is he doing to me? I am becoming worse than him. I am turning justice into revenge. He deserves to suffer. There is no need to feel sorry for him. He himself felt sorry for no one. Perhaps this suffering will prompt him to reconsider the wrong he represented in court. Roughy eyes and a fat belly. She returned to the room, transformed into Medusa. Before she looked at him, the snakes bit into his face and let in their venom. Her gaze liquefied his brain. He went limp. He ceased to exist. Depriving him of feeling and thinking was tantamount to taking away the possibility of evaluating his crimes, actions, and the potential for moral reform. Leaving him alive gives such a possibility. At the same time, leaving him alive would be a reward for what he did. The very fact of sparing his life would also be a gift of grace, an opportunity to present his views. Siddhasa thought about the dead victims and their families. What good is this punishment, his suffering? They miss their 14-year-old daughter, their son. Or perhaps each victim will talk to him at night, sharing their joys, sorrows, loves, successes, and failures. For many nights, he will look at each of these children, their smiles and tears, listen to their reminiscences, and see the regret and longing for their interrupted lives. He will see the fear and pain of any they tell him. He will learn their secret plans, their love for their mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, dog, and cat. And so, day after day, week after week, month after month, and for years, he will have to deal with this co-organizer. Every night, he will not sleep, he will only listen. Such sleep deprivation will disrupt the body's functioning and may even destroy his personal, egophobic access to the world. She felt the snakes on her head and tongue being annihilated, and her skin became thin, pink, and flexible, returning to its human form. But the thoughts were heading to hopeless conclusions. If it is impossible to fix one man, how can we fix humanity? With what philosophy, power, and technology? Even if the human species were to cease to exist, violence would likely persist at every stage of evolution. A floor above, in the zone of the Greek gods, it was similar. In the era of the gods, violence on earth had not ceased, it is also announced. Can no one do anything about such a world? People escape to other worlds, virtual, crazy, addicted, rebellious, closed, solitary, dependent, dogmatic, indifferent, and aggressive, and finally, they leave them altogether. Incurable patients, some sick people suffer almost nothing, while others, healthy, live in pain that is hard to bear. It is probably worse when the soul and body suffer simultaneously. Physical and mental torment take away the will to live. A desire for death is born. Archimean has seen such people. They asked him to shorten their lives. They wanted to leave on their terms. There were situations where he only partially fulfilled their wishes, administering a dose of fentanyl intravenously, which eliminated suffering but did not take life. It all depends on the dose and composition of the drugs. You can create an individual who will reduce muscle tension and ease the pain to the point of bliss, which will be happiness. Thoughts will clear up like the sky in the sun. The development of cryogenic medicine has made it possible to freeze life until health and youth can be restored. Deep freezing is possible, unfreezing is not yet. Cloning and reincarnation from a DNA sample are not either. Cryonicists believe that people considered dead by current standards are not necessarily considered dead by future standards. Instead of suicide, instead of euthanasia, death. Hibernating, successfully rewarming, and bringing back to life is a different scale of difficulty, one for the future. Effective treatment of the disease should also be known when the decision to unfreeze is made. The patient will be brought back to life and healed in a completely different, unknown world. He will not recognize his places, will not meet his friends, and may meet the descendants of his family. He will have something original to say about his times. It is a living history. The trial of an ordinary man, the actions of governments, and the evil acts of dictators do not exempt ordinary people from responsibility. How is it that psychopaths come to power? Soon they become serial killers, but always in the name of some higher cause, an idea. Why do ordinary people agree with this? Can they disagree? There are many reasons. The most common are fear, opportunism, laced with a lack of imagination, the goal of which is fear for oneself, care for loved ones. Fear is understandable. Dictators and the systems they run can kill anyone who stands in the way. The unconscious is more challenging to understand. The ambiguity of political ideas can be confusing for many. The dictator assumes the guise of a patriotic figure sensitive to the needs of society. He will create the impression of a person who fights for justice and the good of his nation. If the fight with him were replaced by negotiations, education, seeking agreement, common benefits instead of losses, it would be better and more beneficial for everyone. However, this is impossible in the cases of people whose goal is their self and the conviction of the only authentic truth. It is also impossible because in society, other people are similar to themselves, perhaps with slightly lesser possibilities. Still, many of them would gladly take advantage of the privileges in power, put on a uniform, take a baton in one hand, a revolver in the other, and beat and kill with impunity without even knowing their victims. Would eliminating those with an egoistic self solve social problems like crime and war? And what to eliminate? People or stupidity? Who is to decide this? How to conduct such a process? Internment in a psychiatric ward and brain modeling? Many psychiatric hospitals would need to be built. Block funds and prohibit the purchase of weapons by people who would undertake a plan of criminal acts. Who would know about these plans? Blocking financial resources is not easy. They may want to pay with protection, drugs, sex, villas with swimming pools, convertibles, etc. Or maybe expand the scope of normality and create inclusive societies? Or maybe ghettos for the bad and paradise for the good, naive, and ineffective. What can a good man with doubts do against a group of evil, determined people? A lot, if he is an oddity. Sigri Greece, I'll have a nibble, because I'm not hungry. The little plane from Athens landed at sunset in Mytilene. The airport was like that in Golnio. Driver Nico was waiting for Sidessa and Archimian. A warm evening. A large, comfortable Mercedes. Cafes and restaurants are lit up, and lots of people. The season is just starting here. The distance to Villa Anastasia is approximately 100 kilometers, spanning the entire island of Lesbos. You can see the coast of Turkey, renovated villas along the road, not all of them, and classical architecture. Nico talks about a volcano that erupted in the past and petrified large trees into stone figures. The area is green, with forests. The road is new, it is supposed to be opened this week. No entry and stop signs are everywhere, but that doesn't bother anyone. Nico drives against the flow. The Greeks have already opened it. The police don't interfere. The architecture of Villa Anastasia consists of 2 towers. The Greek winds pass between them. In the evening, the floor in the room is cool, but on the terrace, the feet are warm. This is a sign that the sun is operating here, and it was probably warm. Archimean woke up at 6 in the morning. He had been back for some time, a ritual from the army days, waking up. Instead of morning gymnastics, a walk, coffee, and writing, sine die, sine linea, no day without a line. 1 sentence a day for 30 years is a book of 850 to 1,000 pages. Life is short, art is long, the opportunity is fleeting, the experience is dangerous, the judgment is difficult, he thought. Hippocrates, there is no point in wasting time. To finish life, not to wait until it ends, is a concept influenced by Seneca, a Roman philosopher, but it is also rooted in an ancient culture that remains alive. Archimean read his on the shortness of life, on happiness, on anger. Almost everything has strong connections with the present and resembles Greece. In Greece, myths played a significant role, whereas in Latin culture, they played a lesser one. Already in the writings of Herodotus, oracles are part of logic. Now logic has much the greatest. Knowledge, power, economics, and still intuition. The walk to Sigri by the bay is short, maybe 1 kilometer. On the way, there was a herd of sheep in 3 colors, 3 dogs, and a shepherd on a scooter. A chapel under a tiny tree. To photograph it, he had to kneel. Such a tiny chapel, and he had to crouch to see it properly and understand its significance. It is the opposite of the enormous Gothic cathedrals that are supposed to inspire admiration and respect, but you have to tilt your head to see them fully. So far, Archimean has saved 1 bug from a plane, a cockroach from a sink, and a roundworm from a toilet wall. He has also tried to wash out numerous ants from sugar without success. This is similar to reducing crime. It is windy, the sun is shining, and it is warm. Greece is my first home. The biggest tourist attraction is the 20-million-year-old petrified sequoia forest. At that time, the island was connected to the mainland, a different era altogether. Volcanic eruptions combined with thermal waters caused the trees to petrify. Olive factory on a small hill. There are 11 million olive trees here. Here. The olives are slightly fermented, salty, and healthy for the body and brain. Also, yogurt is made from sheep milk. Near Erissos, a town from a past era of the 60s, it resembles Miedzisdroge on the Baltic Sea. Sappho was born here. Every September, the Women's Festival takes place on the beach, attracting women from all over the world, but they are also here today. Domineering, submissive, dressed masculine or feminine, patting each other's butts, looking happy. On the beach, right by the sea, there is a cafe, wooden chairs and tables, in the shade of trees, a gentle wind, and the sun. Sidusa, Sappho, Aristotle and Archimean ordered coffee, water, Greek salad, olives, and bread. The silence of the meeting resembles the saying that only silence is more beautiful than the wisdom of words. Does what is wise must be beautiful? What is the definition of beauty? What is the definition of wisdom? Silence has carried from its sources for several thousand years to the present. The language of silence. Thoughts. Images. Their eyes met, taking in the horizon, just as their thoughts encompassed philosophical ideas. In principle, they did not have to talk. Everything was said, nothing changed, except perhaps the form. Silence. Wind, the sound of waves, sun, warmth. Aristotle said, perfection is not a single act, but a habit. That's what I do, I try to be better. Sappho beauty is only pleasing to the eye, goodness is a lasting value. Nikos Kazantzakis is associated with Greece, not with Sigri, but writing about Greece, and not mentioning the beautiful catastrophe, the temptation of Christ, or freedom and death is like describing human life without oxygen. He is remembered for emphasizing independence, responsibility, and the human spirit. But is the human spirit great? In Mytilene, you can clearly see the Turkish coast, and it is close. The Turks ruled the territory of Greece for 400 years. Much of their culture remains. The interpenetration of cultures is difficult. A culture's greatness is not only its influence on others, but also the fact that it can survive for 400 years. In this way, the Greeks protected Europe from the expansion of the Persians from the east and transmitted culture from the west via Mauritania and Andalusia. Panoramani beach nature icon, Picasso reproduction, graphic icon, coffee in a pot on a gas burner, machine icon, no woman no cry Rasta Marley, music icon, buffalo skeleton of a bull's head with horns, Wild West icon. A disorderly cafe by the sea. A colorful house with a porch, tables, and chairs from different sides and times, usually asymmetrical, under olive trees. Inside, paintings of the Beatles, pots for brewing coffee, and a haunted, lovely gentleman eating fried fish in a pan. There is also an appetizer of cuttlefish sepia. Greek salad, pieces large enough to taste separately and together. Sheep have beautiful fur in 3 colors hanging on screens on the sides. The winds from the sea do not affect them. They also warm themselves in herds, cuddling one another. Villa Anastasia has a shape dominated by 2 towers and a connecting terrace. Birds fly rapidly between the towers in pairs, and their aviation is admirable. In it, a cafe that had not survived economically, a small town in Sigri, few customers, and even the miniskirts of the waitresses could not help. Now it looks like a nomad house, but for me, it would be suitable for living in, he thought Archimian. The mare is grazing, moving her head to swat flies from her eyes, nibbling on clover, sometimes running up on a not too long lunge, drinking water, lying on her back, and swinging her legs. She is stretching. The Museum of Petrified Trees is very impressive. 20 million years ago, a volcano erupted on the island, and hot springs flooded giant trees from below. The island was covered with lava. After some time, vegetation appeared, but it was different. There were many exhibits from other countries. The most impressive was the meteorite, an extraterrestrial one found in the Nevada desert. The surface is covered in triangles. Maybe it's the writing of another civilization, artistic graphics? Greek winds can be troublesome, especially when the rain is driving. However, many who come here want to stay forever, or leave their hearts behind like Albert Camus or Vic Duncombe, the Australian. The heart can live in many places at the same time. A shop, an art studio, and the owner, a former sailor, remember Gdansk. There are no tourist capital investments here, only local activity, driven by its own needs. A small boat with its catch sails out tirelessly every day. But in the handicraft studio, a coffee cup, necklaces, rings. Antisai, an ancient stone town, has market chairs and tables under olive trees. Fishermen sell fish from a car, and cats wait for a treat. The strong term electricity tower resembles a mill but generates electricity, similar to a wind farm. There is silence in anticipation of what already is, the past, electricity, my home, us, the sun, and the wind. There is no particular thought about the future here. Has it already been? Sigri mosaic of miracles. The court of things play hide and seek because we don't see them. They can cause disasters because they are poorly programmed. They shoot to kill, but a human presses the trigger. Drones seem to be living beings. They are piloted by young men and women who hold joysticks, much like they did in their childhood. After a successful hit in the end of their service, they go to lunch. Forbidden science research data was invented, falsified, and stolen. The results are false. Money wasted, embezzled. Conscience in the fog. Singularity in medicine. I am not myself as a human being, and I cannot control my destiny. Synthetic biology, in which quantum technology, nanorobotics, and AI have made me someone other than I am. The slogan, I am not a robot. It is gone. I am at least partly a robot. The mass production of drugs has health, economic, social, and cultural aspects. Fentanyl production serves as a curiosity. It is impossible to predict the consequences and the development of events. In small doses, it produces effects similar to other opioids, analgesia, reduction of anxiety, euphoria. In large doses, it causes severe symptoms affecting the nervous system. A lethal dose is 2 milligrams. It's 100 times stronger than morphine, and it's hard to break free from the addiction. At night, addicts emerge from the underground. A 10,000 times stronger substance is carfentanil. It is about 10,000 times more potent than morphine and 30 times more potent than fentanyl, making it the most powerful opioid in use today. Changes in these areas are unstoppable, and it is unknown where they will lead. The same is true for genetic therapies, access to them, and many other medical procedures. Soon, there will be 10 billion people, and everyone will want to be happy, beautiful, and healthy, probably in that order. Access to genetic therapies, drugs, and organs for everyone will not be possible. In terms of organs for transplantation, the red market, or organ trade, voluntary and forced, is already flourishing. I am the result of these discoveries and applications. If I wanted to share this information, I would lose my life.